Hello, everybody, and welcome to the giant conversation that is Topic Talks. I'm your host, Aaron Klingy-Smith, and joining me today is our friend Michaela. Hello, Michaela.
Hi.
So we've got a lot of topics to get through, so why don't we just jump right in? Can you believe that Bryan Adams canceled his concert in Mississippi? Well, once you hear why, you might understand a little bit more. His concert was canceled because of a new law that gave religious groups and some private businesses the right to refuse service to gay couples.
Yeah, that's a really surprising legislation in this day and age.
But you've
And
also
honestly, I believe it's not federally, like, you can't hold that in court.
actually there is
If it is, then that's pretty messed up and they need to catch up.
basically businesses have the right to refuse service to whoever they want to. It's sad, but that's how it is. It is kind of sucky, and I don't agree. I didn't think that it could.
Actually, that's only if they post that somewhere, like, in writing up front. And
Yeah.
if they do that, okay, it's still shitty. But at the same time, they can't do it if they don't have that written anywhere because something about the currency, they have no right to deny currency unless they say so up front. Otherwise, there's been a whole bunch of bigger issues.
But I mean, all they've got to do is print off a piece of paper that says, blah 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 blah,
Exactly.
and that's all they need. I
Yep.
did not think that it could be a piece of legislation, however. That kind of threw me off a little bit.
Yeah, discrimination like this, whether it's ethnic or sexual preference or anything that has been legalized in the states, should not be state-based legislation.
Yeah, I feel like leaving it up to the owner of the establishment and the fact that they have to post it. I mean, it's crappy enough as it is, but to make it, I don't know, like to make a piece of legislation that kind of backs that up, I don't, I I just don't get it.
Yeah, I'm surprised it got the votes to pass.
Bryan Adams did say he can't, in good conscience, perform in a state where certain people may be denied of their civil rights due to their sexual orientation.
Now, this is an interesting statement to make. Bryan Adams is not a politician, but he's making a political statement. And
He
so, when in doing this action, you have to consider he's depriving some fans of the chance to see him who may not have had anything to do with this, but at the same time, is the political statement worth the cost of that? And clearly to him, he thinks it is.
I mean, some people have political views that are just strong enough that there's no way that they can even like that they're not even gonna put up with the possibility of um just I don't know. Some people won't budge on certain things, and this is probably one of them for Bryan Adams.
Yeah, very
I I,
much so.
I did find it kind of surprising that he, like you said, that he would deprive his fans who may not have any say in that particular thing, or didn't have a vote or voted against it, to deprive them of his show. But in all real, like, you can always, if he has a show just outside of Mississippi somewhere, they can travel. So it depends on kind of what your view is and how bad you really want to see him.
Well, here's a question. It's that, first of all, travel is expensive. And so is buying another concert ticket when you've already purchased one that got canceled. I'm assuming these people have been refunded their money.
It didn't say, but I would assume that that would be right.
If they have, then it's kind of just a disappointment, in which case the damages are softened, but it's still, by not playing in Mississippi, I don't really know that he's doing anything to counteract the legislation that has gone through. There's no money being given to lobbying. There's no follow up really. And I mean, starting off by saying something isn't a bad way to start at all. But the fact that, or there's no real line to draw he's doing is actually going to help in any way, shape, or form,
Right.
aside from draw attention to it, which is good. But I would like to see a follow up rather that says, okay, and here's what's being done to reverse this law because of this. or
Right.
he's supporting this organization who's trying to get this repealed, or something a little more tangible would make more sense.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, the statement that he made earlier, the quote that I read, it was almost kind of like he was a politician, and that's, and he gave that statement, and I don't know. It's one of those things that it depends on your view. I don't
Mm-hmm.
like the fact that that can be a law, but I'm not sure if I like the fact that he would let that stand in the way of his fans seeing him.
Mm-hmm. There's
And
always this slippery slope between business and pleasure. It's what he wants to do and what he thinks is right, and what his obligation is as a business professional, as a performer. And that's very interesting. Honestly, I don't blame him for doing what he did, and I think so long as the tickets were refunded, that's completely acceptable. But there's a sour taste left in your mouth
yeah,
that something's not finished here.
yeah, and I'm not sure if this is the only thing that will come out of this. He may go later and try to, create something saying, "Hey, something needs to be done about this." And only time will tell what will happen with this particular story.
Yeah, it's honestly a really disappointing story. I mean, he canceled it. When exactly was the concert? Because the law doesn't go into effect until July 1st, which is pretty early. So this was passed uh, not all that long ago. But this is disheartening because they're using religious roles they're trying to protect religious views while harming LGBT and I believe Q now groups, which is not acceptable. You shouldn't have to sacrifice one freedom to protect another, and in fact, that's not what's happening at all. Um,
Well, and it's almost like he's following in the footsteps of Bruce Springsteen, I believe it is, who Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band canceled their show in North Carolina because of a new law blocking discrimination rules for the LGBT community.
yeah, exactly. Like this is not a new thing. He's not the first musician to ever do this, which is why I'm not that surprised by that. All musicians who have done this that I know of have always refunded the tickets and apologized profusely to their fans, but said, you know what, you want me to play in your state, change this legislation. And
Right.
that's one way of really kind of getting people heated up. However, how effective it is, I'm just not sure. There's no benchmark to look at to say, okay, this happened because they didn't play music in this area. Because music is something that you can have no matter where you are, since you can download it from any place that has an internet connection, or you can have it if you have a CD. Um, it's not necessarily that anybody has to go to a concert to hear this music. So taking away a luxury, I feel, isn't exactly a huge deal in terms of getting people going.
Yeah,
But perhaps I could be wrong. If they've got a huge fan base in that state, maybe it really will turn some heads.
it might. Let's move on to our next one. This is a little bit less controversial of a story. This is one that kind of touched me. A mother is hearing her son's heartbeat after the first time since he's passed away. So this story, um, the son passed away. Well, I guess he got a flat tire and he went to fix it and do something. On his way back to his car, he got hit by a pickup truck.
Oh my goodness.
Well, he was an organ donor. So his heart was donated to a guy named Terry. Let me see where it is here. Terry Hooper.
Hooper.
Terry Hooper, who was on the donor list for only 53 days due to cardiomyopathy. This is a kind of a cool story. There's a video that goes along with it. I'll post it with the link, or I'll post the link where everybody can look at it. Um, it actually shows they hook him up to a machine and the mother can hear the heartbeat. And it's just her reaction is, I don't know. It's just kind of one of those stories that makes your heart feel all warm and fuzzy. That, you know,
It's a little bittersweet, probably.
I mean, it is. She's like, it sucks that it's, my son's not here, but it's good that, you know, his out of his death something good was able to come of it.
Yeah, which brings up an interesting question. There are a lot of people that I know who do not sign on to the organ donor registry for either they didn't think about it or just everyone. There's so many people who have an impulsive, no, I don't want people to take my organs, when they don't really think, well, you're dead, you're not going to need them.
Well, it's
And so I always encourage my little brothers to sign up for the organ registry. Now, unfortunately, my little brother who just got his license, even though he put it down through clerical error, it didn't actually show up.
but he can change that in
Yeah.
when he goes to renew, or if he wants
When
to go
he
out of his way
turns
to change
21
it.
or whatever. Yeah.
Um, it's funny because it's kind of the same thing as, when you ask somebody about their funeral arrangements, or you talk about funerals and stuff, and people are like, "Oh, I don't want to be cremated. I'm afraid I'm gonna wake up." Well, you're dead. If you're already there,
Hmm.
there's been several people that you've passed by that have figured out that you're dead. You're not gonna wake up there.
At least several.
um,
Yeah.
no, so
That irrational fear is always interesting, but I mean, I would strongly encourage anybody to sign up for the organ donor registry. It has saved so many lives since it's been instituted.
yeah, it is an awesome thing. Another cool part about this story is that um, at the end of after she heard her son's heart and all that, she was given a bear that had angel's wings on it and had a
Hmm.
recording of her son's heartbeat.
Um,
So
that is very
it
sweet.
played it on a little loop. So like I said, I felt all warm and fuzzy inside. I mean, yeah, it is bittersweet because yeah, you did lose what seemed like an awesome young guy, but something good did come out of it, and it's just one of those stories that kind of makes you feel good.
Yeah, it's I mean, everyone talks about leaving a legacy behind or leaving something behind to be remembered by, and I mean, he left his heart behind. He's keeping somebody else alive, and that is a big deal.
Well, and I've been thinking about it, and I was wondering what could be the different arguments, because there'll be those people who will be like, well, technically it's not his heartbeat. Well, technically yes, it is. It's his heart and it's beating. May not
Hmm.
be, you know, it may be in somebody else, but those are his beats.
I mean, it's been assimilated into somebody else's body a little bit, but it's still physically his heart.
Well, and it's kind of cool. It's actually kind of, I don't know. It's just kind of, uh, it's interesting how far technology has come. The fact that we can take an organ out of somebody who has passed away and put it into somebody else to help them have a longer life.
Yeah, and that's not where tech or that's not where science has ended. They're actually in process of growing hearts. Now they have not had a successful heart transplant with artificially grown hearts yet, and that's something that they're a little hesitant to try until they get working kidneys and all sorts of other organs. But they, for sure, without a fail, have figured out how to grow cartilage for replacing ears if one was burned off, or to do kind of facial reconstructive surgery with tissue from the person themselves, which has a very low chance of being rejected by their body. But when it comes to hearts, that is altogether a different game. And
Well,
when it comes
yeah.
to major organs.
When it comes to major organs, I do like how they're, kind of diving into that and testing. It almost kind of reminds me of the movie Bicentennial Man with Robin Williams. Have you seen that one?
Oh, yes, that is a tragic but good movie.
It's an awesome movie. Um, yeah, no, that was a warm and fuzzy story that I decided I would share. Now back on to a story that's not so warm and fuzzy. A teacher gets arrested. This teacher got arrested when a video went viral of her beating a student with kind of what looked like rolled up papers.
Okay.
Now, to me, it didn't look like the student was hurt. No, it wasn't right for her to do that. Um, and there was a student of hers that called in and kind of defended her, saying, you only saw a clip of what happened. You didn't see what happened before, before this incident. And apparently there was, they were throwing stuff at her. But I mean, some people lose their temper. I don't even know. This is kind of a touchy subject because yes, people are allowed to lose their tempers, but can they lose their tempers that bad? And if there was no
Hmm.
injury to the student, if it was rolled up like three pieces of paper.
Well, I mean, it doesn't, from the sounds of it, this doesn't seem like a joke. This doesn't seem like a chastising little bop on the head. This seems like really going at it, which is a concern and is definitely a no. This is something that teachers know they are not allowed to do. There is no question about that. You're not allowed to assault a student in any way, shape, or form, whether or not you lost your temper, in which case, tempers are a very bad vice to have as a teacher. But this brings up an interesting point when the anonymous student called in and said you didn't see the whole story, because you never see the whole story when there's video evidence. You never see it from beginning to end. You always get a glimpse of the middle. I was at Starbucks a couple weekends ago and a fist fight broke out. Yes, I pulled out my phone to get video camera evidence because I didn't see anyone else doing it, but I only got the middle of the fight. I only got a certain portion that made it look like one kid started it when he didn't. So my video might be used as incriminating evidence, but without my testimony, it means nothing. Without the beginning of this person assaulted this younger person and his older brother came to defend him, you wouldn't have known any of that seeing the video. Which is why context is always so important, and I'm so hesitant to jump to conclusions when I don't know the whole story and I wasn't there. I want to hear from the students how it started and what happened, to see what the consensus is on it, and see, okay, well, was this out of line? Was this a temper issue? Because if it was, even the video aside, that's still not acceptable. If it was a matter of, as the student said, they were throwing stuff at her, that's still not acceptable, and there's still alternative ways to handle that, which maybe need to be addressed in that school community and say, look, if you have certain students who are assaulting a teacher, which is not acceptable, they can be suspended or expelled on the spot.
Well,
And all the teacher has to do is walk away and go get the principal or security if they have that at their school. There are so many different ways of handling it than assaulting a student.
it is one of the it is kind of funny because with the evolution of social media and videos, because before, a kid would have taken, before cell phones, nobody would have taken a video. you know the student would have went to the principal, and the principal would have went to the teacher, and the teacher, it kind of would have been like he said she said kind of stuff. But they would
And who
look,
would take,
well,
yeah,
and
who
they
would
would
the
look
student's
at,
word?
okay, is this student disruptive in every class? They'd look at the background of the student and the background of the teacher. If it's a,
Mm-hmm.
teacher of the year, award winning, been here for years, and the student causes trouble in every class, they would take that
Mm-hmm.
into account. It did say that there was going to be an investigation on it, but she was arrested and charged with assault, and they did suspend her pending the results of an investigation. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's nice that they're actually investigating. Yes, it was wrong for her to do this, um, and I guess only the investigation, or what the results of the investigation will show, will determine the outcome. But I do hope that they don't just go, oh, well, this is what it looks like in the video. I hope they go, okay, what happened? What led up to this? And I mean, from what I've heard from the video, again, this was another video, every student that did say something said nothing but good things about the teacher. And
Well,
so,
I mean, that's just it. There is no line in which a teacher can assault a student unless it's in self-defense. From the video, you can clearly see it's not self-defense. They might have been throwing stuff at her, walking away. Just walk away or handle it differently. You do not have to hit a student to get them to stop throwing stuff at you.
well, and
So no matter how sweet this teacher might be on every other day, yes, she might have had a temper and she might have snapped. Again, assaulting a student is never an okay option. Should this result in her being fired? Well, I think that's where the behavioral records come into play. Is this kind of be a kind of you must be fired and blackmailed from every possible, like her entire career will end if she gets fired, because she will be blacklisted at every school ever because this is a viral video. Does the punishment need to be that severe? Maybe not. If the students say that she's an excellent teacher and they love her class and everything, maybe she could go with a warning and just be under some kind of a probation. If the student does not feel safe in her class, perhaps he can be moved to another class.
I was gonna
But there
say,
are compromises, yeah.
yeah, there's it's funny because, like I said, with social media, things blow such like out of proportion. And yes, this was wrong for her to do. And again, should she get fired? That's not really for us to say, or it's
Mhm.
all depends on, the investigation and, like I had mentioned earlier, how was the student? What is he like in school? So
Yeah.
it all kind of rests on, what the investigation says. And honestly, from what it sounded like she was a good teacher, just had a really bad day. No, that's
Mhm.
no excuse, but I mean, I kind of hope that they'll give her, some form of warning and, say, hey,
Yeah.
this is what you're to
It's
do.
something it's something to be considered when you shouldn't make brash immediately the most devastating decisions ever, which is what happens a lot when things go viral is they demand, I mean, you've seen it in a lot of videos when especially ones that involve race or homophobia where people are demanding this person go die. People jump to the most extreme conclusions because it's so easy to do that when you're not seeing the full story and when it's impersonal. And so I don't think that she should immediately be fired. And I appreciate that the school said we're going to suspend her indefinitely until we know the whole story. That is a very responsible response from a school. And I think that right now they're handling it very well and that depending on the results, maybe they thought at their best determination it was better to let her go, or maybe not. You know, I'm
Um,
hoping that they make the right decision based on the full information that they have.
Something else, the school gave a statement saying that the district is committed to providing a safe and secure environment for our students. I think that was an awesome thing for them to say. And it
Yeah.
does kind of show you that they are taking it seriously. They do, want to keep the children safe. They want to, that's their goal. And it kind of just, it's professional. I think it's really professional of them to have made a statement like that.
Well, they would get horribly chastised if they didn't. This is trying to calm the storm of parents that I'm sure have flooded their phones saying, is my student being hit? I mean, you can imagine the reaction from parents at that school asking their students, making sure that their teachers aren't hitting them. That is a grave concern. If I found out a teacher was hitting my son or daughter, if I were to have one, I would be livid. And
Yeah,
if that was normal behavior, I would demand they were fired because I would not be able to disassociate my personal interests and the interests of the school.
but like we said, the only thing that will matter in the end is what comes up in the investigation and the decision of the school district on what to do or how to handle this matter with the teacher.
Hmm. And
Um,
I hope it's made very clear for them. Easy decisions are nice,
that
although it's never black and white.
it never. So the next topic and the final topic for our first half that we have, it's another kind of heartwarming, feel-good story. State troopers made a little boy's birthday wish by showing up on April 4th, throwing him a belated birthday party. So this all started when a boy named Toxie Andrews was disappointed when nobody showed up for his birthday party. That's kind of sad. I feel really bad for this
You
student.
know, how old was this child?
I didn't think it
Does it
said.
say? He's somewhere in he's elementary school. Oh, that's tragic. 10-year-old. He's 10
Yes.
years old and nobody showed up to his birthday party. Now, you hear these stories of people who are teenagers or college students where nobody showed up to the birthday party, but they have friends that live in different countries and couldn't physically come. But when it's a 10-year-old and likely all of their friends are local unless this child just moved, it's still just heartbreaking.
Well, and the cool part about it is, his mom went to Facebook after this happened and kind of shared what happened and how upset she was. Well,
Mhm.
that's when the state troopers caught wind of it and decided to have a little surprise party for him. And the mother, Angela, was said that after Toxie got home from school, a caravan of 5 state troopers pulled up to our house with canine included. Not only did they bring him a birthday cookie cake, but they also brought him all kinds of presents. They let him play with Rhino the canine, play with the sirens in the cars, they ate cake with him, played basketball, and on a Facebook post later, they said, "We all want to make a difference, and these troopers showed that today." And there's a hashtag kindness matters. I think this is kind of one of those stories that's awesome because they saw this post that this 10-year-old boy, didn't have anybody come to his party, and they brought
Mhm.
him a party. They brought
I'm
him
always
everything
I'm
that a little boy
curious.
would love to play with, like cop cars and
Yeah.
the dogs. And if you look, there's pictures
Cool.
on the link that I'm gonna post after the show, and there's a whole bunch of pictures. They bought him one of those. It's like the newer skateboard, the swivel things where it like turns. It's got a handle in the middle and two wheels. I don't know what they're called. Do you know what I'm talking about, Michaela?
Yeah, I don't know what they're called either. I think it's interesting. How on earth did they get wind of this exactly? I think
Through Facebook.
I know, but I want to know who was friends with who and what exactly happened.
It's one of the miracles of social media is the fact that, we can post something online and it can get to thousands of people and it might make its way back to somebody in our community, or somebody in our community might see it and share it uh, until something like this happens. It did say that the word got around and then the state troopers found out. So maybe people shared it. I mean, this is a story where you do feel bad for a 10-year-old who didn't have a birthday party. I mean, if I saw that, I'd try to get some friends together and, if it was somebody I knew, I'd go and try to give them because at 10 years old, you deserve a nice birthday party. You don't, not, it doesn't have to be big, it doesn't have to be anything extravagant, but somebody to show up at a 10-year-old's birthday, that's all they ever want.
Yeah.
So that's why this story just kind of touched my heart a little bit. It made me feel good. It also made me feel good about the people that we have in this world. There's been so many different like things going wrong with officers or officers doing bad things. It's nice to see some state troopers do something like this to show that everything that's going on that's bad with some of these officers is not all officers. There are a lot of good officers out there, and there's a lot of good people out there.
Yeah.
So I think this was a kind of a light in the shadow or the cloud that is, everything that's going on with police officers these days.
Yeah, and a lot of people have said that everything has changed since 9/11 when the police became more militaristic because of the concerns of safety and security of the individual citizens that they are charged with. But it's always nice to see a story where they go above and beyond their duty to not just make their citizens safe, but happy. And that is more than incredible.
Yeah. Well, we've only got about 2 minutes, so it's time for me to do my little spiel. Hope you guys join us in the second half. Michaela might be joining us for the second half, and we also have another friend, Matthew, is coming back for our Movie Madness Monday. We're going to take a look at Gilmore Girls. They're going to reboot the series Gilmore Girls with the original cast. Uh, Stay tuned to check that out. We're going to hear about the spin off of Harry Potter, the new prequel by J.K. Rowling that is coming out. It's a movie. And if we have time, we're going to talk about the MTV Awards. So if you guys have never seen the show before, we love for you to send us topics. We'll talk about almost anything you post as long as it's kind of clean and you keep it decent. But this show is all about interacting with different people. And so we want your feedback. So on that note, I'm going to log off here and I'll log back on in a couple of minutes for our second half. So I hope you'll join us. And if you don't, I'm Aaron Klingesmith here with Michaela, signing off.